Are you
XTAM KBDT proudly presents Life Solutions, coaching, counseling, naturopathic medicine, insights for successful living, and getting better with Ann Beal.
Welcome to the show today. I am so excited. I have a new friend.
Yes, ma'am.
In the studio with me today. His name is Greg J. Matthews. Right. I say J because I don't want people to not be able to find him. Greg Matthews is a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers anti-terrorism officer. He also has been a firefighter. He has been a 9/11 responder. He has so many credentials behind him. He's founder of the ministry Chase What Matters.
That's right.
And in 2015, Greg was mauled and nearly killed by a grizzly bear in the Alaskan Wilderness.
Yes, ma'am.
And the exciting thing for me to have him on to tell this story is that he really believes it changed his life.
It definitely changed my life in a lot of positive ways.
And so we have him on to share with you about the attack and how he believed it healed his wounded heart.
Yes, ma'am.
So thanks for coming, Greg.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be with you and to be with your listeners today.
So you feel like it's very important to explain why you feel like you've been healed and what you've been healed from. Yes. So I am just going to let you just kind of take over because I want everyone to hear and share.
I would love to do it. Well, just stop me when you've heard enough.
I will. I mean, I'll chat with you, right? But I just want to know. So do you want to start with the attack?
I can start with the attack, definitely. And, you know, the book is out now. And so
the book is out now.
Still trying to protect my readers. They are in process and reading now.
Now, the book is called Wild Awakenings.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is out. You can get it anywhere. You truly can get it anywhere. And it's How a Raging Grizzly Healed My Wounded Heart. Wild Awakening. And it's awesome. It's incredible. And my husband and I read this story, and a lot of my friends have read it, and our kids have read it. And it is just, it's like a thriller. It's a drama.
Adventure, survival.
Yes.
It definitely will meet what every man is looking for adventure and challenge and everything. But that's kind of the hook for even men and women. It's everybody wants to know what it was like to be attacked by a 8.5-foot, 600-pound grizzly. And I take them there in the book, and I place them there with my writing. And it is it's something that what I have been getting back from readers so far is some of the chapters are so intense and are so overwhelming that they literally have to put the book down just to be able to process what you were reading.
You know, I have to admit, the book, once you get in, you can't get out. And so
That's a good thing as a writer.
Yeah, and that's probably why it's. The other day it was, was it number one on Amazon?
Well, it's still number one Amazon for Christian men's issues, I guess is what they call it.
Oh, they have categories.
Yes, they do have categories. And it showed up on mountain climbing as number 4. So there's
cool.
all kinds of different categories, but I have just been so blessed by the Lord. He is moving this message forward. And I have literally no control, but I'm just holding on and waiting for God to move.
Well, you know, and the way you do the book is so cool because you go in between chapters. So you have 2 stories kind of at the same time. But eventually, when I really got in you, the grizzly was right there, and
yes.
I guess you you stop and there's a chapter you go back, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. I just skipped on. I couldn't. I was in such panic, kind of. That I had to know if, what happened. And Jim saw me turning the pages like I was cheating. I'm like, I can't. And I kept telling him, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. And he's like, well, get done so I can read it. But it is so enthralling. It definitely is an adventure. It's exciting. But it also touches the heart, because I feel like I know it might be weird for people who read the book. They know so much about you because you really go really deep.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you go through this horrible attack, and then how you come out of it. People are very endeared to you through that. And so I feel like I know so much about you, and you barely know me. I mean, you're getting to know me, but
yes,
it's good. And even your dad, when I met him, I was like, It's probably strange, but I know a lot about you, so that was cool.
We have grown close really fast. And you know what? That's the way the Lord works. And this story draws people close, and that's what I'm hoping to do. I'm just hoping to remain transparent and remain open. And I want to inspire just based on, because it's taken a lot of courage, I can tell you. And I say, give me a simple terrorist plot or a structure fire or a rescue, but please don't make me talk about the pain inside. And so I've moved past that, and I'm just hoping that it will inspire people to go past the superficial that we all have interaction with our friends and everybody out there, and be able to dig into that pain, because I have found that there's actually freedom beyond it, and I'm so hungry for that. And so that's the message that the book is carrying forward. And the Grizzly Attack is riveting, especially for me, because it happened to me.
Right.
But what I will tell you is it really pales to when God shows up out there and physically executes miracles to save my life.
And, if you would like to call in and talk to Greg, he's going to share about the attack and everything, and we're going to be here for an hour. So you're welcome to call in. The number to call in is 214-810-8255. Again, 214-810-8255. And or you can go chat online on Getting Better with Ann Beal Facebook. And so we just welcome that, and we will watch the chat, and I will kind of ask those questions as well.
Absolutely.
So we'd love to have you. Well, so Greg, you were in the wilderness. You were with your brother.
I was with my brother in the Alaskan Wilderness.
And there was so much exciting stuff before that, getting ready.
Absolutely. It was 2 years of planning to execute a dream that my brothers and I had always had, to go on an expedition into Alaska and to test the skills that my dad taught us and that we grew up with, but also I wanted to bow hunt for moose. And so we made that happen. My brother, he wasn't able to go, Shane, but Matt and I ended up going out there.
Bow hunting, it's funny about bow hunters. I don't know that passion, right?
Right.
But you seem to have that. So you had, originally you were going to use your gun, your rifle.
Right.
And you decided, I think I'm going to bow hunt this moose. Why?
Well, the reason I decided to bow hunt is, so for those of you who don't know, I live in Texas, and big hunting state. And so I kind of cut my teeth hunting boars and hogs in Texas. Which
everybody says is a nuisance, and they're
right.
pretty dangerous.
They can be dangerous, especially if you get that single boar showing up, and they usually run as singles. They will charge you, and I usually hunt them at night. And so just for your listeners' own thing, I'm not a trophy hunter. I eat the pigs that I shoot, and we were up hunting to fill my brother's freezer. He's got 5 kids and a wife, and so he fills his freezer with different animals from Alaska, just like many people from Alaska.
And that's part of what they have to do up
Yes.
there, and so it makes sense. And he invited you to come along.
Absolutely, he'd lived up there 12 years. He's an accomplished big game hunter, and up in Alaska, and he basically set it up for us. And he had a 26-foot jet boat that we actually filled with gear that had all been tested and proven over 2 years of planning. And when we finally got out there and set up what's known as a spike camp, which is where you have your sleeping and your storage tent, your kitchen all set up, everything was going awesome. And then 4 days into it, things went a little sideways.
Yeah, I would think that you might expect there could be a grizzly out there. There could be black bear. There could be wolves.
Absolutely.
And so you had enough. You were prepared.
We were.
But were you mentally prepared to come across a grizzly at that moment when it happened?
I think I know for a fact that it was considered by my brother and I, because we both carried sidearms, pistols. We both had a rifle. We had a shotgun, but chose the rifles that day because we did also have a black bear tag. And so we had seen one the day prior up on one of the ridge lines. And so what we're gonna hunt moose for half the day, and then we were gonna look and see if we could track that bear down. So that's part of the reason I grabbed the rifle. The other reason was when I got out of the boat on the shoreline, there were 2 big piles of scat, which is grizzly or bear poop, and it wasn't there the day prior when we were scouting that same area. So I know that bears had been in there either that evening or the day, after we left.
You didn't know what kind of bear. You just said
No.
bear.
There was a lot of salmon running, and so the scat was mostly digested salmon eggs. So yeah, it was pretty visible, and that was actually one of the main reasons why I opted, because bow hunters, they like to travel light. They like to have their pack, minimal food, and they just want to be one with nature, and they don't want a whole bunch, because we're going to have to pack meat out if we end up getting a moose. And I started taking steps, and I saw that scat, and I questioned it, and thank goodness I turned around and grabbed my rifle and slung it over my shoulder, as well as carried my bow.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yes, ma'am. Thank God.
Thank God. Well, okay, because it's a scary, scary story.
Do you want to get into it?
Yes.
Okay, well, here we go.
Here we go.
So, I just told you we landed on the shoreline. I grabbed my rifle and my bow, and we were hiking in, and about halfway in, we saw a huge rub on a tree. We were seeing signs of both bear and moose, but this was a huge sign, and what it is bull moose with their big rack of antlers. They will use tree trunks to scrape the felt off of their antlers. And so they'll strip it, and so it'll be covered with like a fur, but after they strip it, basically it's big white like paddles or oars on a boat. And so we found this rub, and it was amazing. It was so exciting. It was like everything I had ever read. I can't tell you. I think I hugged my brother when I came back. He says, "You go look at it. Tell me what it is." And I came back, and so I hugged him. I was so excited. I'm like, this is it. And so obviously it's building up the excitement. So we cruised over to the right side along the tree line and crept up about 1.5 miles, got positioned, and we found a knoll in the center of this valley. I was at the front of it. My brother was about 50 yards back. And so I was camouflaged up, and so was he, and he was doing the calling, moose calls. And we had gone through a series of two. You do moose calls every hour, and so we had gone through 2 series. And the third series, all of a sudden I saw movement out of my periphery, and I can't tell you, my heart started pounding. I could feel my respirations increase. I mean, this was 2 years of planning all coming to fruition.
So you were seeing a moose?
Well, yeah, I thought I was seeing a moose, because when I put my release on the bow and went to draw it back and swung over to put the sights on what I thought was a moose, there was an 8.5-foot grizzly standing on its back legs, and there were 2 subadult cubs, nearly 300 pounds apiece, right behind it.
That's bad.
That is, even a novice moose hunter recognized that's bad right away. So they were at the confluence of 2 trails. One trail swept down the knoll towards my brother. The other one would have provided a perfect 25-yard shot for me. And so, but my first thought was run. I was so scared. Yeah. I can't even tell you how scared. My second thought, I knew I couldn't run. The thing would have been on me in a second. I thought of hiding. There was a big log in front of me. I thought of hiding, tucking myself under that. But then I realized if they chose potentially all 3 bears to go through that and get on that trail, that my brother would have been potentially exposed and gotten mauled. So I decided to face it.
So it's amazing that you didn't run, right? That you thought well enough to not run, but you had the bow in your hand,
yes,
right? And
I quickly put that down and grabbed the rifle. I knew I was going to confront that thing.
And the bears could have gone down towards your brother.
Absolutely.
So
that's what I was fearful of.
Just incredible. So when we get back, you're going to start there.
Absolutely.
Because that's quite a big decision you have to make. And you're also terrified. So if you can think clearly, right?
Yes, exactly.
I can't imagine that. So we will be right back. Stay here. Greg's going to share more about when the grizzly looks at him.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Been listening to Dr. Wallach, and I bet you have some questions. We want to help, and here's how you can get the answers. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call right now.
Better with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
Welcome back. I was just asking Greg, do you know where you left off with the Grizzly Attack? I want to make sure he doesn't miss anything because we were just at the crossroads.
Right. Yes,
and
we
you
were
see
at
the bear and the babies.
So I see the bear and the babies.
Which is the babies being there even make it worse, right?
Yeah, they weren't exactly babies. These are
they were
17, 18-year-olds, if you can picture
so
as
you
kids.
had 3 grizzlies.
Yeah, these are grizzlies getting ready to go into the adult world. And what I found out later was that grizzly was teaching those grizzlies how to hunt. And so what I did is I grabbed my rifle. I knew I couldn't let those bears get down to my brother. So I grabbed my rifle. I low-crawled around the tree behind me. When I brought it up, the zoom on the scope was too much. All I had was hair, so I dropped it to my hip and then stood up on my tiptoes, and I tried to be as broad as I could, and all I said was, "Whoa, bear," and that thing's head spun. So just so your listeners know, it was still swinging its head back and forth with its nose in the air, trying to sniff where I was. And so as soon as I said, "Whoa, bear," that thing locked on me. The 2 subadult cubs crashed through the brush. They took off. They knew Mom was about to get busy.
That's right. You were camouflaged.
I was.
That's why she didn't see you.
She didn't. I was completely camouflaged.
But you knew she could smell you.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I knew I couldn't hide. But obviously I didn't want them to go down to where my brother was either. And so as soon as that thing saw me, it dropped down to all fours. It was a laser stare at me. And the head started to drop lower between its legs. It was getting poised, I could tell, to spring. And so it got down to about 6 to 8 inches off the ground where the chin was, and I saw this big black lip curl up from its bottom portion of its jaw. And then all of a sudden, the ears folded back, a big muscle came out of the top of its head, and all the hair stood up on its back, making it look even bigger. It already looked like a pickup truck, the size of it, and all of a sudden it started charging me, and I couldn't believe that this thing didn't run away or go away, didn't want to. Yeah, so it started charging. It went into slow motion. I could see stuff being thrown behind it as each time that the paws dug into the ground, and I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a false charge. It's going to slide to a stop, let out, they woof, and it wouldn't stop. And so it's getting to within about 30 feet, and I'm thinking it's going to slide and stop, and it's not stopping. And
Is that what they normally do?
Yeah, they will slide and stop and let out the woof and let them know who's king of the jungle, basically. And then they'll usually separate and go about their business. And that didn't happen. And so all of a sudden, it was coming at me even closer. I fired once in the face at 15 feet, and it didn't do anything. Before I knew it, it was on top of me. It pinned me on the ground, on my back, and the first bite was to my face. And so when that bite hit, it tore a hole. Sorry about sharing this much with your listeners, but it tore a hole in my throat about the size of a tennis ball. And then the other portion, the top portion of the jaw, the teeth went through my cheek, through my gums, and through my jaw, and then when it bit down, it split my face from the middle of my nose down through my lip, and then my face exploded with blood. And for the whole entire attack, I couldn't see because there was so much blood. There were multiple times that it took my head into its mouth. Mm-hmm. There were times where it bit through my arm and lifted me up as it stood up, did a violent head shake, and then eventually I ended up realizing that I was possibly going to die. This was something that everything in the past I've been able to get myself out of or successfully move through and have positive results. But this was something, this beast, this land great white is what
good name for it.
For what I call it. You can't really imagine, even from a distance, you can't imagine how big it is. And so when I basically lost any hope of surviving, and this is where actually God stepped in. When I had nothing left and I had given up and didn't think anybody was going to be able to do anything to save my life.
Greg was tired.
I say that often.
Yeah.
I was really tired. I was in pain, but I was really tired. It attacked me for over 2 minutes. Just let that sweep second hand go around twice and think about teeth being stuck in you and claws and everything else. And it's a long time.
That's a very, very, very long time, Greg. It is amazing, and I know there's more to it.
Yes, there is.
It just went on, and so we're going to pick it up when we get right back. Stay here.
Thanks.
Balance of nature.
Suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. They say we're not getting any younger, but many thousands have felt younger after a few short months using Dr. Wallach's all-natural longevity nutritional supplements. How many times have you said one of these days I need to call Dr. Wallach and find out what I need? Well, make that day today. Here's how to get that information. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call. The information is free and there is no pressure. So do it now. That's 800-214-0065. If you face health challenges such as heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, fibromyalgia, depression, infertility, ADD or ADHD, high blood pressure, or one of hundreds of other diseases, help is available. All you have to do is make the call. You have nothing to lose but the pain and suffering. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
How's your golf game? Meet Pat Wheeler, host of Texas Links on the Air.
The thing I love about golf, it's the discussions are never ending. You can talk about anything and it's interesting. The clothes, the courses, the instruction, the equipment, and the people who play, of course. The quote of the year so far, Dr. Lemack, he said, I'll be 110 days. I think I'll get a Hershey bar and go hit some balls. That's what we talk about on Texas Links on the Air. Don't miss it.
Texas Links on the Air, Saturday mornings at 8 on 1160 a.m. KBDT. Life today.
I've got to admit, it's getting better, a little better, all the time.
If you'd like to get better, call Ann right now. 214-810-8255. 214-810-TALK. Now more with Ann Beal on 1160 a.m. KBDT.
Welcome back. I was reading the chat. Somebody was telling me they have an odd clicking. And so if my tech person would check that out, is there a clicking? He's saying on your mic. We are with Greg, and he is taking us through the Grizzly Attack. And it's just an amazing story. The Grizzly attacked your head.
Yeah, the Grizzly took my head, the back of my head, when I was trying to control the bleeding at my neck. I tucked my chin against my chest. It took my head in its mouth 2 different times and basically made my head into a road map.
It's interesting that he went for your head first, isn't it?
It is interesting in the sense of I had read about how grizzlies and other apex predators take down game.
Oh, and you were standing.
And typically it is going for the neck. It goes for right at the main blood supply. And so the head is obviously very personal too. And yeah, that was its area of choice, basically, to do a lot of its damage. The one thing that I will tell you is that after 2 minutes, by the time my brother got there, it's really inhospitable terrain, moose area. There's a lot of frost heaves, there's a lot of swampy areas, there's downed trees, there's all kinds of things. So it took my brother a bit to get to me. But what I will tell you is that by the time that he reached me, my scalp had been degloved, which is, degloving is, it had started with one of its claws at the top of my left ear and had swiped down, and I can still hear that sound of it, like fingernails along a chalkboard, and it scraped down through my skull and basically went all the way to my skull from the top of my ear across my spine and then laid my scalp over. So it was no longer, I was attached to the skin, but it was no longer attached to my skull.
Do you think your brother thought you were dead?
Absolutely. And when he got there, the bear was in between us. And so he had some decisions to make. One, the Lord gave him a special measure of courage to face that grizzly. There's no telling what somebody is going to do under extreme stress and extreme measures. You just don't know. I've seen people that you would think that would be the ones that would be leading, that even in the fire service, that are afraid to go into certain areas. And then you see other ones that rise up that you wouldn't think would go and do those things, and they step up and do it. And my brother stepped up. So he couldn't fire on the bear. It was in front of us or in between us. And so what happened at that point is he began charging multiple times at the bear. And at this time, the bear's got my leg in its mouth. And so every time he says the bear is busy biting down on my leg, and he comes up close in one of his charges towards the bear turns with my leg in its mouth, and the bear's face is completely covered with my blood. And finally he gets close enough where my brother now is the real threat, and finally the bear drops my leg.
But your brother has a gun, yes?
He does have a rifle. Yes, and he's able to get 2 shots in as it turns to charge him. And so we have 3 200 grain Winchester Magnum rounds into this bear, and it still has not killed it. So it gave it reason for pause. It looked at my brother, looked back at me, I guess, and then started running off into the adjacent tree line. And with that, it was still alive, and my brother actually fired one more time and missed, and then come running to my side and said, "We've got to get out of here. This thing is still alive. It may come back for a second attack."
And at that point, you had a very long way to go.
Yes, it was difficult getting that gear and everything out there when I was healthy. But that 1.5 mile walk back to the boat, which is what we had to do, was beyond anything that I thought I was even capable of. I was really tired. I wanted to go to sleep. My brother said during the attack as he was running up, he said the screams sounded almost inhuman. And I can't even remember what sounds I was making, but it was probably something that felt like it was being eaten alive. Now,
in the book, you share that you heard something while you were being attacked.
Yes.
And you thought you were dying.
That goes back to what I was saying about I had reached a point where I didn't have any hope left of anything or anyone being able to stop this grizzly from killing me. And prior to my brother showing up, and it seemed like a long time, 2 minutes, the Lord basically started speaking to me. And what he said was, he said, "Greg, I am not done with you, and I need you to fight." He didn't give me what to do, but I knew that he was speaking to me, because there's no atheists in foxholes.
Huh.
And so what I would tell you is, when you're on the cusp of thinking that you are dying, you are desperately praying to God. And I've had a relationship with the Lord since I was in high school. But what I will tell you is, I knew that when he showed up, in a sense of peace and a sense of being revitalized with energy came across me, and I was on the ground. I felt him actually almost feel like he came in around me and wrapped his arms around me and said, "I need you to fight. I am not done with you, Greg. And so it was, from that point on, it was just a series of miracles, physical miracles, portrayed right in front of my brother and I to get us back out of there alive. And because we believed that bear, once we started out, that it was tracking us for a second attack.
So, you know, your brother, he had to watch for the bear the whole time.
Yes.
But yeah, that's because that would be terrifying. That's what I was saying, that when you read the book, it's like a horror thriller kind of thing, because you're on edge. I kept thinking something's going to pop out, you know, and you guys have this long, you're covered in blood. I don't know about your brother, but usually that's not the best place in the world to be covered in blood, I would think.
Absolutely.
And it's just terrifying. And so the story is amazing. It's an amazing story. And, but what in the midst of all that, because I was thinking, oh, this man has done so much. He's you know, firefighter, EMT, 9/11 responder, and you go through all this training and anti-terrorism and all the stuff that you had trained and learned, right?
Yes,
you
ma'am.
were one tough thing. And I thought, why would God let that end? You know, I mean, this guy has so much to offer. Like, what? It's just such a sad tragedy right there. When I'm reading and I'm thinking, God, what? But that is not what you were thinking at all.
Well, no, it wasn't what I was thinking, and especially after the Lord moved in and stepped in, and when I thought Greg had to earn it all, that in the final 1 yard to cross the finish line in anything, God wasn't going to show up, my dad wasn't going to show up. It was going to be Greg's responsibility to carry that ball across the finish line. And what was really amazing is how he stepped up when I had nothing left. And he infused that energy and that love into me. And basically I began to draw on all those skills that you talked about. What can I do? If God wants me to survive and he's saying, I need you to fight. So what I ended up doing is I ended up walking my brother. I was still blinded. I wasn't sure if I still had my face. He ended up coming up to me saying, we've got to get out of here. And he said, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And so I wasn't going into shock, in those phases of shock where you can't think yet. And I know that was another miracle from the Lord. And so I raised up, unable to see, bloodied, and I had my brother basically describe the injuries to me. And then I walked him through how to treat those injuries.
That is a miracle.
It is a miracle. It is absolutely a miracle. It was, you can never tell me otherwise. I should not have had the clarity to be able to think. I should not have, with the blood loss that already took in place, I can tell you I was on my hands and knees. I could hear the blood pooling underneath me. Mm. And so I can tell you that was absolutely a miracle. And there's a lot more details. Don't feel like you're getting it all here from me.
Not at all in the book.
There is so much more detail there that you will be placed right there. And you will live it if you choose to read it. But I guarantee there's a great ending that will blow you out of the water.
Everything is so good, though. All of it's good. The writing's incredible. And so you did have someone ask where to get the book. You can get it at any bookstore. You can get it on Amazon.
Yes.
You can get it online. I mean,
Barnes & Noble has it in all of their stores. It's anywhere books are sold.
Yeah, and Greg's website is
ChaseWhatMatters.today, and there's immediately a banner that comes up that you can order it. I would encourage you, I want to start really communicating and blogging, so there's a place on the website where you can actually go in and register to, we're just starting a newsletter. Chase What Matters Today is going to start really growing. It's been based on the book right now. Well, the book's out and people are in process and reading it, and it's going to unpack a lot of things. And so we are looking at doing a workbook later on to unpack some of this stuff, and I really, really want to partner and walk through, because I'm still walking through it myself.
Yes, you are.
And so I just want to partner with everybody out there. And don't forget, for those of you who don't like the feel of a book or maybe aren't big readers, I did an Audible book kind of geared towards men, because a lot of times they're not big readers. And I love reading, but I enjoy an Audible book. And so that's out there. I would encourage you to get it. And then there's lots of ways of getting in touch with me, and I'll reach out to whoever I can. It's getting busier, so don't have your feelings hurt if I don't get back to you right away. But I'm trying to do everything I can once the message is out to to reach back into people's lives and to walk with them in this.
Now, you said you target men, a lot of it. It can help anyone, but the target for men, you talk about the wounded heart.
Yes.
Was what you had, a wounded heart before the Grizzly attack.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been healed from that.
Absolutely,
and so,
completely.
And that is more about that's why you want to target men in a lot of ways, right?
Yes. Well, and I do want to target men, but what I'm finding is that women also have woundings similar to what I have. Obviously, being a man, I can relate more to men, and I'm trying to make changes in myself of being the husband and the father that I wasn't. I actually had some abandonment issues that I kind of overlaid with my family. I was so busy trying to prove myself to the world. You talk about the list of bona fides that you were talking. It's actually almost embarrassing. I mean, it was for good reason in helping people, but it was an overachiever. It was insecurities. It was trying to win something back. And I'll share with you a little bit if you're interested in hearing about that wound.
Sure. Love that.
So at 8 years old, I was on the sidewalk basically with my brothers. We had just carried some boxes, and my dad is a real alpha male. He was a police officer, a Marine, worked for NCIS, did multiple careers, and we loved our dad. He was our anchor. He was our foundation, especially for me. He was my hero. But there came a day when our family broke down. It split apart, and he came to us out there that day and said that he was going to have to leave the family. He wasn't going to be living in the house anymore. And I was screaming inside, but I never said anything as I watched him drive away. And as he drove away, my whole world crumbled. And as an 8-year-old boy, unable to process that, what I did was I overlaid some lies upon my life. And those lies were, my dad was leaving because I had done something terrible. My dad didn't love me. I was the reason for why our house was falling apart, and that I just didn't have anything worth sticking around for. And it was, I just overlaid that on my life, and that set a series of events throughout my adult life of chasing all of those things that you listed off. Firefighter, working at the World Trade Center, started a national emergency service system in the jungles of Uganda. I was a fugitive recovery agent, a rescue helicopter pilot, anti-terrorism. I mean, blah, 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 blah. It was all things. But during that process, I robbed my family of my heart. And
Keep going.
and it just was something that I was very broken, and God healed me from that out there.
Well, and when you say you robbed your family, you were gone a lot.
Yes.
Is that what you mean? And you
Preoccupied.
didn't give them preoccupied. And I think that when you hear your resume of all the things you've done, I can tell it almost hurts you because you feel like you should have been doing something else.
I want that time back, and I can't get it back.
And that's what you want people to hear.
Yes.
Yes.
I want it back. But you know what? You can start today. You can start today. You can get it back today. And I'm engaged. As a dad and a husband, I am engaged.
You are absolutely engaged, and that is wonderful. So we just want to tell you how to go from here and how to what's up next with
Yes.
Greg. So stay right here.
Been listening to Dr. Wallach, and I bet you have some questions. We want to help, and here's how you can get the answers. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call right now. Don't wait any longer to find out how Dr. Wallach's own all-natural nutritional supplements by Longevity can help you. Are you concerned with reducing your risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, or high blood pressure? Help is available. Do you have arthritis, sore joints, lower back pain, or fibromyalgia? Call now. Dr. Wallach creates his own formulation so you can be sure that what is on the label is actually in the bottle. Whatever your health challenge, make this call. Thousands like you have seen results for a happier, healthier life. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Call today, 800-214-0065. They say we're not getting any younger, but many thousands have felt younger after a few short months using Dr. Wallach's all-natural longevity nutritional supplements. How many times have you said one of these days, I need to call Dr. Wallach and find out what I need? Well, make that day today. Here's how to get that information. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call. The information is free, and there is no pressure. So do it now. That's 800-214-0065. If you face health challenges such as heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, fibromyalgia, depression, infertility, ADD or ADHD, high blood pressure, or one of hundreds of other diseases, help is available. All you have to do is make the call. You have nothing to lose but the pain and suffering. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
And now, your love story, set in stone, presented by Shaw Diamonds and Design.
I met my wife on a blind date. We dated for a while, and one thing led to another, and we decided to get married. Then I started thinking about rings, and what do you want, and what are my options? Then I realized I went to college with David Shaw of Shaw Diamonds and Design. He took us through the whole process. He told us about diamonds, what was available as far as mountings, and if we had an idea, we could design whatever we wanted to with David.
I'm David Shaw of Shaw Diamonds and Design. I create jewelry designs for my clients that truly represent them. When you look at jewelry we make, you'll see your story set in stone.
The rings were gorgeous. We had something that meant us. That just wasn't what was in the case was all I could get. It's our story, set in stone.
Call 972-895-2655 or find them at ShawDiamondsAndDesign.com. Shaw Diamonds and Design, your love story set in stone.
Mommy, Jimmy flushed his car down the toilet, and now it's running over.
Call Cody & Sons Plumbing for life's unforeseen events. For 50 years, Cody has met the plumbing, heating, and air conditioning needs of businesses and homeowners across the Metroplex. Did you just turn on your AC and did it go? Call Cody at 972-870-9444. Better yet, call them today for a pre-season checkup and cleaning to prevent those problems. Want to save money with a tankless water heater? Call Cody at 972-870-9444. From garbage disposal installation to full bath remodels, the experienced folks at Cody & Sons are your plumbing, heating, and air problem solvers. Ask the experts about their MVP programs and easy financing too. Call Cody at 972-870-9444. Go online to CodyandSons.com. That's CodyandSons.com. Or call today at 972-870-9444. Keep this number for gas leaks and other emergencies. 972-870-9444. Cody & Sons Plumbing.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
You're getting better all the time. Now back to Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
Hey everyone, welcome back with Ann Beal and Greg Matthews. I didn't want to leave you hanging too long, so I want to talk about where the healing took place. And where that healing took place, you can imagine the wound that I carried for a long, long time. And you know, my dad really didn't have anything to do with that. We're in a broken world. He's making decisions, and he never didn't love me, or it was never my fault, but that was what I overlaid on my heart. And so what I want to tell you is when God showed up, and when I thought I wasn't lovable enough or I wasn't worth God showing up, because I held him and my dad at arm's length. I was not going to let anybody hurt me like that again. When he showed up, I began to see, wow, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything right or spectacular, but God showed up, and that he showed that how much he loved me. And through those series of miracles, and I won't tell you exactly what happened, but what I can tell you is not only did he save my life physically and then show me that he loved me, he also healed that wound and took away those lies and showed me my dad had always loved me, that there was never any change. That was a lie of the enemy, and it was through a series of other miracles that you are not going to believe. I am so excited for the readers to read about that.
Yeah, it is wonderful. It is wonderful. And I know for you, your life has changed so much.
Absolutely.
And I think that when people are at that edge of death and life, right there, they often do see pictures of their family, their loved ones. It's not their life. Some people say their life passing before them, but for you, that life was your family, and I think that's so wonderful that that's what you saw,
Yes.
and it was healing for you and motivating for you, and so you really have changed.
I feel I've changed. I'm still working it out. I still, the Lord has put it in front of my face where the areas that I failed in, and I'm not afraid to admit it, and I'm engaging in those areas, and that's part of the reason that I was able to write the book, because I've seen those broken areas, but I've also seen where, and this, I'm finding it's not just for men, it's for women too, that the foundation of fulfillment and joy and purpose that we're all searching for,
Right.
it is founded in those deep, intimate relationships with the Lord, with our husband or wife, with our kids. That is where the foundation of where that purpose is that we're looking for. And so I miss that. I was trying to polish the outside and never really engage my heart because of brokenness. And it doesn't have to be a father wound, a major issue like that. There's lots of ways of being wounded throughout our childhood. And some of those things can paralyze us.
We come up with such distorted beliefs about it as best as we can make sense out of it. And they're usually not true.
I want to share a couple things with your listeners, if that's okay, that I haven't shared on any of my interviews, and that's the reason is because it just happened yesterday. I got a phone call, and it's kind of emotional to me, but I got a phone call at 12:30 at night from somebody who was on my Facebook, which is now, it used to be personal, it's now grown exponentially. This person called and said, "Is this Greg Matthews?" at 12:30 at night, and I said, "Yeah, this is Greg Matthews." He says, "I'm sorry it's so late, but I just read your book." And he says he was drunk. And he said, "I haven't been living right. And I was just wondering if you would talk with me and share with me some of the things that you wrote about in your book." And I just, we spent 45 minutes on the phone. That's bigger to me. Like I said, it doesn't, Simon Schuster wouldn't like this, but the book doesn't matter except for the fact that it has the message in it that I want to get out.
Right.
And the second thing is that my wife called me and she says, "I just heard something amazing." And I said, "What's that? Tell me." She goes, "Some of our friends, their 14-year-old daughter wanted to read the book, and she's already about 3/4 of the way through it, and she's gone back to her parents and said that, we should make it more of a priority to go to church and to get to know God more." And that is worth it to me. That is what I want from this.
That is wonderful, Greg. And I bet a lot of people got that. They know your heart now, and they will get your book. So you guys go out there and get the book, read it. It is fabulous. It's wonderful. Get the audio book at Audible or Libro.com. And then you have a workbook coming.
We do. We're working on getting a workbook out there, and one, I need it to keep working through this, and two, I'm hoping to partner with all of you in doing this and working it out. And thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure, Greg. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
You're
and
welcome.
Thank you for being here, right?
Amen.
And next week, guys, we have PTSD specialists, a sex trafficking specialist here next week, letting us know all about what's going on in the Metroplex. We will see you then. In the meantime, just keep getting better.
Amen.